Welcome back to the Ignite the Light podcast. My name is Alesia. I am your host, and I'm feeling good. How you guys feeling?
I'm doing great.
He's feeling great. We're back. It's episode 7 of season 2. Jeez, how do you feel about being episode number 7?
Lucky number.
Lucky number. He said it, not us. He said it, not us. And we have a special guest here today, Mr. Wyatt. He just smiles and laughs. Well, guys, I know Wyatt, but you do not know Wyatt. Maybe you do. Maybe the people do know you. Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? They're about to know you. So Wyatt, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, set the scene for us of who you are.
Yeah. I've grown up in church pretty much my whole life. Both my parents are, religious and believe in God and they're good Christians and they set the tone for me, and I learned from them. But I've fallen into this now and really been on fire for God, and I've been playing football and basketball and
basketball.
Any sport you name.
I didn't know basketball. This is news to me.
I mean, not this year, but
okay, other years.
Yeah. So,
where do you go to school? Where do you stay?
Yeah. I go to Pinnacle.
Wow, go Pioneers!
Go Pioneers!
Right? Go Pioneers!
I stay at my house with my parents like a normal kid.
That question didn't land as much as I thought, but we got another Pinnacle Pioneer here with us today. What year are you in school?
I'm a junior. So
Jeez.
25.
Let's go. Class of 2025. Big things coming. Okay. I feel like I know you more. Any other juicy details we're missing?
Not really, no.
I guess we'll save that for the rest of the pod. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so as you guys know, this season we're talking all about love, different types of love. So I don't know why Wyatt didn't mention this, but he's actually a scholar. He's so smart. So he took hours to study for today's episode for you. He cares that much about you. And first, I want to ask you, what did you find in your deep research? Your deep research on philia love. What did you find out about its definition and what it means to you?
Really just the friendship, love and obviously being on the podcast, but I see a lot of, Jesus' love for us and I think that's a good word and good way to explain it. But I mean, just the friendship type of love, the unconditional love for you.
Yeah. So we're going to be chopping it up today on the friendship type of love. So I got to ask you, because like you said, all about Jesus here, the King. If you didn't know, Ignite the Light is basically for young people that, want to look around them and see other people that are doing the same things and can agree that like, yo, this is pretty tough to be out here in these streets and living for God. And that's kind of how it was all birthed. So we want to give you guys some scripture. Where is a story or verse in the Bible where you feel that God's love has been shown that you really admire?
Yeah. I mean, one story in the Bible, there's this woman that was bleeding for 12 years. And, actually, if you don't know Pastor Darrison, though, but he preached just a few weeks ago. And
shameless plug.
It really, really stuck with me. But there's this woman that was bleeding for 12 years. And, she everyone called her unclean.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone called her, all this type of stuff, said she's, not worthy of God's love. And, people, and I actually, thought about this a lot and thought, just naturally, all us humans are, quote, unclean.
Yeah.
And, with our sin and our mistakes and, for this lady in the Bible to, knowing that she's unclean, and all these people said if you touch someone, they're going to be unclean also, and she didn't want to miss a moment, with Jesus, and he was walking by, in this big crowd, and she couldn't miss a moment. She reached out and grabbed his garment, and just like that, she was healed. She's heard all this stuff about Jesus and knew that she just had to, just touch him or something on him, and that she would be healed. And this big crowd, everyone just calls her unclean, and she did this anyway. And I think, everyone's like, was really shocked about it, and was a little worried for Jesus, saying, is he going to be unclean and all this? And him knowing who touched him, he turned and said, "Who touched me?"
Yeah,
seeing if anyone would, be honest about it. And he knew it already, but he wanted to see if she would be bold in her faith to do it. And she said, "It was me." And God just smiled and hugged her and said, "It was because of your faith you were healed, not because you touched me." And I think, for this woman that doesn't necessarily always have that type of love from the other people, God, showed his continuous love and his, unconditional love for this girl. So I think that one stuck with me.
That's so good. That's beautiful. And like you said, it's this person that, the world rejected because she was unclean. Legit insane. And then we have Jesus who, if we think of even celebrities today, athletes today, everyone thinks like, oh, only certain people can talk with them, touch with them. They don't, talk to certain groups of people. And then we have the biggest celebrity in all of eternity that, doesn't miss a moment with this person just because what the world says about them. That is beautiful. And look at he had that story off the dome, people. He was ready. He said, "This stuck with me," and it stuck so good. I know the whole thing. That's amazing. And you kind of touched on this in the beginning, but like you said, you have this fire ignited in you right now. And I don't know if you did say this. I think you did. It hasn't always been this way. Am I correct?
I mean,
I've always. Oh,
it's always been, but just recently it's been a different
reignited.
Yeah.
So, like last year.
Yeah.
What did you learn last year when it came to you finding out the friend that you had in Jesus? Because I believe, like when we prep for these things, I kind of asked him a couple different questions, and he told me that he was reignited in 2023. So, what did you learn last year? What experience was it that really just?
Yeah. I wouldn't even say necessarily it was a single experience. I would just say, if you look at my life and the way I was a year ago. And then, I'm not saying it was bad, but
it was bad.
No, I mean, it's, if you look at my life now, it's, I'm a happier person. I'm to always have a friend in Jesus. I think, just to have conversations with him, to when you're unsure of stuff, when there's uncertainty, for you to know you have a friend in Jesus kind of changes your perspective on everything in life. And I think, that's why that, not just myself, but the whole Pinnacle campus has, really grown, is because, they're starting to learn over time and seeing, the changes in all of us. And when they ask us about it and we can point to, our Savior and our, Jesus, he really does it all. So
that's huge. It raises some questions. And earlier this season, I actually just had someone text me this today, but we were talking about friendship love too, and someone said, "Oh, when we see our friends' lives and like if we see certain stories on Snapchat and stuff, like does that make us miss it in things?" And we talked about this earlier, and that person messaged me and they said, "Well, what about when those people see your lives? Like, don't even think of it in a way of just, oh, when I see their lives, I'm missing out." Dude, when they see your life, they realize perhaps they're missing out. Or they're like, whoa, why is that person totally different than last year? It starts to raise questions. And like you said, your campus is almost changing because seeing a couple people's, not a couple, but seeing your guys' life change. They're like, what's going on over there? What's that Jesus? What's that God thing all about? It's cool. It's so amazing. Okay, so we have these friends. You have your friends. You have your dogs. They'll all get some shameless plugs pretty soon. So friendships are so important. Obviously, you are who you hang around. If you doubt that, I don't know why you're doubting that. But what are 2 to 3 things you look for when you choose your friends?
Yeah, I mean, I think, an obvious one is...
I don't know the obvious. What's the obvious one?
The obvious one, which is, do they have a relationship with Jesus?
Ooh, okay.
I think, and I honestly, when you start to dive into it, I think it's it's a little bit obvious. You
Mm-hmm.
could tell who has a relationship with him,
That's
because
true.
you can tell, they're constantly trying to, you know, better themselves. They're constantly trying to live more like Jesus. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's probably the biggest thing is when you're choosing friends and looking for people, are they going to, just like any other, relationship, are they going to make you better? And I think, when they have a strong foundation and then, you have a strong foundation, you can really grow with them and you can take the right steps in the right direction and not, kind of hang out with the wrong crowd and wrong path, which happens a lot nowadays.
All the days and nowadays. That's crazy. So I gotta here's what you said that had me thinking. When you're like, okay, their relationship, this and that. What are your thoughts? Because I struggle with this on childhood friends. Those friends that maybe you had a year ago, or for me, I know I have some friends from high school that maybe we're on different paths now, but they're already like ingrained in my blood. Do you have any of those? What are your thoughts on those?
I mean, I have 5, 6, 7 friends that I've been best friends since kindergarten, and I'm still like almost all but one. Like we talk every single day, and that one just goes to a different school. But it's like I mean, I have childhood friends that I've grown up with, and I think it's tough because if they're not, I mean, I don't know. I think if you still make the conscious effort to be their friend, then that means that they're doing something right, and they're like you're not just friends with someone because you're forced to be. You genuinely like being around someone.
Yeah, that's true.
And if they're still your friend, then it's probably for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's a good message, because sometimes we do hear the message of like, oh, cut those friends off just because this and that. But even just what you said to you're probably still friends with them for some reason.
Yeah.
And if you are striving for, I know one of my best friends, Shivani, she just helps me. I'll ask my dad for advice. My dad's like, I know you're not going to take my advice. You're going to take Shivani's advice. And her parents just own hotels. They're so smart. She's so smart. And it's like, sometimes I'll feel a little guilty. That sounds weird, but hey, we're here to be real. Sometimes I'll feel guilty because I'm like, dang, my best friend. But like you said, we're still friends with them, typically for positive reasons, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I also think just for my situation, I don't even necessarily always look at them as friends. Like they're more honestly brothers to me. Like
that's
growing
true.
up with them, and so it's like you don't just get rid of a brother, but and that's what's good is those are my best friends. So I listen to them, they listen to me, and when they do see change in my life, them being a brother, a good friend, they're gonna want to be a part of it too, whether they agree, don't agree. Like if they see positive stuff happening and someone that they're with every day,
that's true.
Then it's gonna either make them stop wanting to hang out with you or want to join in with you. And I think if it's a childhood friend, it's usually gonna be in the good ways.
Yeah, it'll happen over time. I love that. That's good. So you are I'm just gonna have to break it to the audience. He's a leader on his team, leaders, and sometimes when you're a leader, it can be challenging to, still get the respect you need in your friendships when you're on and off the field, and you're friends with a lot of your teammates and things like that. So how do you handle the pressure? And let me know if you need me to explain this more. How do you handle the pressure of being a leader on your team off the field in your friendships? Do you feel that there's ever, do you feel like you're always being watched? Do you feel like there's shifts? Do you feel like you have to act a certain way? Kind of let us into your brain a little.
Yeah. I think, for me, I do feel like I'm always being watched, and whether that is, true.
It is. It's 100,000,000% true.
With the position I'm in, there's constantly eyes on me.
Yeah.
And I don't find it that scary. It kind of helps me, knowing that there's people that watch my every move to kind of, know that I can't just be doing whatever. I have to, honestly, I have to live like Jesus.
Yeah.
Because there is, you could look at it negatively, but I look at it in a positive way. There's a lot of eyes on me. There's a lot of friends. There's a lot of players that look up to me, being the leader. And so, I've kind of always loved the leadership role because guys look up to me. Whether it's young, underclassmen or even some older guys.
Yeah.
I think, for me to be so, strong in my faith, helps me with the leadership. I'm not. I feel like I have a firm foundation.
Yeah.
With the Lord, and that helps me to be a leader because I think I try to every day, and yeah, I fall, I fail, I struggle. I'm human, but having such a strong faith, it makes it easier to lead.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's even like you said, just viewing it in a positive light, just like, hey, these people are going to look up to someone.
Yeah.
And that person can be someone that has a strong foundation with Christ. That person can be someone that's even being conscious of what they're doing. What if they're, just following a leader that doesn't even think about what they do, what they say? At least you're like, hey, you know what? If I do have this on my back, I'm going to make a positive impact. Sure. That's super cool.
I also think, like, you just said everyone's going to have a leader, and I think, it's my job to point them to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not, then that means I gotta, I know my leader in God.
Yeah.
And so if they can't choose him to be their leader, then I will, because that may help more people.
Mm-hmm.
One, know about it, and two, start living like it.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. He said, "I know my leader. You better cook." Come on. He's like, yeah. That's cool. Ooh. So, okay. I feel like we're in the brain now. We're in the brain now. Are we in?
We're in.
He's like, y'all not in yet. Just kidding. We're in. I told him, I said, you better let us in. Like, don't be closed off. He's been doing a good job. So, okay, we have this whole thing sometimes with, I don't know if you're friends with only athletes. Can you confirm or deny?
I'm friends with every. Like
He's I'm friends with snails. I'm friends
with. Seriously, like there's people at my school. I just if you'll talk, I'll be your friend. Like it's.
Oh, you guys got the play. Okay. So you're good to answer this question then. So what would you tell someone that's intimidated to be friends with athletes, or have just like biases about them?
Yeah.
What would you tell someone? Are the biases true? Can you confirm or deny?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be stereotypes and everything. I think.
Right.
I think a lot with athletes too, and whether it's teachers, staff, like me being on a football team, us being one big group.
Mm-hmm.
They a lot of people like to. I would just say group us all as one.
Yeah.
And, if one person's doing it, they like to say, "Oh, the football kids, the football team." So I mean, I can see why it can be intimidating, because football kids. I mean, we go through so much hard stuff, just like on the field. Lifting. That's the point of it, is for us to go through hard stuff together, and it makes us closer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like why we have such a strong bond between all of us, and usually you see us hanging with each other and football players, but.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I'm friends with a lot of basketball players. Like, I'm friends with some soccer players. Like, just kids in my class.
Yeah.
That don't even play sports.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it helps if you play football. But I mean, I think, you shouldn't have to play any sport to try to make a new friend. Or you don't have to be the same person.
Mm-hmm.
To be friends with the football boys or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's important to know.
Yeah, that is important to know. Oh, he's great. They're listening, all right. Anywho, okay, so that is good. That is good, and I think it's good for people to know that. Obviously, Wyatt is a different breed than some others. Not saying just like in general, the whole scope of everyone, but it's also good to know we all have value. Everyone has value, and what you can bring to someone's life.
Oh yeah.
You can't ever underestimate that just because of I don't know, a sport that they play or
Mhm.
because they have that many followers or this. It's
Yeah.
really just you just can't do that. You just have to know that you have value. And anyone that doesn't see that about you, then they're like he said, their head's probably not in the right space anyway. So then it's like, okay, why do you want that person close to you anyways? Because you're probably not have the same values. A lot of people lately, not a lot of people, it's just all like the learning I do. I see a huge trend of, hey, how well you can maybe even bond with someone is if your core values align.
Yeah.
So like if your core values are following God, if it's kindness, if it's treating everyone equal, if it's business, if it's not being lazy. I mean, last episode, was that last episode? 2 episodes ago, we had Germ on here saying that he wouldn't even date someone if they don't go to the gym.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. No, for real. I've asked him for recommendations, and then he's like, does she work out? And they won't even be like bigger or anything, but he's like, nah, that's not gonna cut it. And at first I thought he was a little extremist, but then, if you're constantly, you know, with if this is like a huge priority in your life, like 5 days a week, or you're trying to maintain this physique and they're bringing junk food in the house, they're saying, let's watch movies and skip every day. They're like, don't go there. Like that's going to have an effect on you.
And I think that goes into, are they making you better? And I think, it helps out, like you said, to, be around people that have the same values because they're striving to be something and to be better. And usually anyone with, any goals or just anything that they like to do, and it aligns, you kind of have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
110%. Love it. So, audience, I don't know if you guys know, ITL fam, but Wyatt is in a relationship. Slow nod. Can he confirm or deny? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. I am.
He's crazy. He is. And let's be real, as we've also discussed this season, it's a tough world out there. It's rough. I don't really know if everyone's, saying get into a relationship, but it's also not very healthy relationships. So how long have you been with?
A year and a half.
Okay. He knew the answer to that question. A year and a half. That's a long time, especially in high school years.
Yeah.
It's like, it is long. I've grown. So how do you stay committed in a relationship in a world that is constantly just pressuring you to be in the streets? Let's be real. How do you do it?
Well,
Enlighten the crowd.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what we've been talking about.
Oh.
Is, finding a person that has the same values in you as you. If two people that constantly are making each other better, I think that's the relationship you should be looking for and doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And, there's so much. That's why, there's so much judgment just based off a look, honestly, and that's why relationships don't always work out in high school. I think it's because they just like even just saying they have a relationship or just being with someone for a little bit. And I think, it's so much more than that, honestly.
Yeah.
And if you could, find a person that, you have the same values as, that you can grow with, then I think it could be a positive, thing.
Could be a positive.
It is, but, yeah.
It is. So why don't you take us back a little, like memory lane? You know that lane?
Mm-hmm.
Memory lane. How did your relationship start? He's like, it was a Snapchat. Like, how did it start?
I mean, we go to the same school, so.
Wow, thank you for that.
I mean,
thank you for that.
If you want me to take you back.
I said memory lane.
Memory lane. So she and I dated in 7th grade.
Whoa.
And that was honestly not serious.
Yeah.
It was for like maybe a month or two. But no, I mean it's. So, I've known her for a while.
Okay.
But, I mean, we just started talking again 3 years later. We started talking for a while and had a lot of the same beliefs. Hers at first, she wasn't she believed in God. Her dad was very, religious, and
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't, such a bold Christian. Didn't know that much, but I liked her, and I thought, she could. She was into sports, and just I thought she was a person that, I could get better,
Yeah.
with, and that's not what I'm thinking at first.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get better, but as you start to get to know her, and start to talk to her, and I think you could. It just, I don't know. It's naturally
Oh
just
my goodness, he's
happens.
blushing now, guys.
No.
He's like getting stumbling his words.
Stop.
He's like, stop. So I find that trend though, where we have a lot of kids that have grown up in church, or maybe the family. I mean, I had that too. My family,
Yeah.
we went every single Sunday, had no choice. Or maybe you do have a choice. Who knows? It's 2024. Choices. Anyways, but it's not really landing. It feels like their parents' faith. What
Right.
advice would you give to that, junior, senior, now they're starting to discover? How can they make it their own and it even means something, that relationship with God?
Yeah. I mean, that's how I was. Like, as a kid, my parents went to church. My grandparents, really, they were Catholic, really, good, uh, with the Lord and their relationship. And, they're always talking about it with me at a young age. I don't think, I know there are kids, but, if you don't have the right understanding of it, like I didn't, as a young kid, it's like, either like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Or it can kind of be like a turn off. And that's how it was, for me. I was never against it, but it was just like, almost a lot of kids, I've talked to my parents forced me to as a kid, they made me go. And that's kind of how it was for, my siblings and I. But I mean, even though like, I didn't find much value in it as a kid, I'm thankful for my parents to try to, at a young age, put me in that environment, and surround myself with, those that environment. And people that are trying to get better always, and look more like Jesus. And but I think, I wouldn't necessarily say it was my choice to go. And then I went to a camp in 7th grade, just with some friends, nothing big. They were going, I'll go. And I feel like, not just my story, but, if you ask tons of kids, our age that have a faith, I think that's what's so cool, is you see, kids on our football team, when this whole thing started, kind of, some had great faith, some had, no faith at all. Everyone was all over the place, and that's why, that's what's so cool about it, is it doesn't, you don't have to be a great Christian to start going to church and to start being a good Christian. Like, you have to just accept the fact that, Jesus is the truth. And once you accept that, and start to, realize that we are all imperfect, and we're all we all sin, we all are unclean, like earlier.
Tie it back.
And there's nothing we can do, to fix that, except for, giving it to God, and saying, that's the point, is saying, I'm not perfect, I'm not gonna be, but Jesus, His blood is what, allows me to be. And it's, His forgiveness, His love, is what makes that happen.
Like you said, just looking and accepting the truth. Once you accept it, and sometimes we may know it, like you said, like we might have this background where we know it, but we don't really, nothing in our lives and actions show that. But even just the more real you are with yourself, just will enhance your life in so many different ways. And even enhance, when you're real with yourself, you can even help others grow. But if you are, if we're thinking, oh, I'm doing so great, I love God, this and that, and our actions, our life doesn't say we do, you have to be so real
Yeah.
with yourself and say, that's not love. I remember, you know, that's kind of my whole story coming to Jesus back in 8th grade. Can't say I was always with him since then, but I grew up in church, and then 8th grade had to watch the 9/11 video on 9/11. That same video, you probably know the one. Took me out, and that day, obviously, I know everything. I know about the prayer. I know how you come to Jesus, all these certain things. And I remember that night, I was like, I haven't said the prayer yet. I was a little stressed. I was stressed. But then I realized, I was like, but I love you, God, all these certain things. And then I really thought to myself, I said, is this really love? If I died tonight, tomorrow, and I faced you, I would say, you know what? I chose my life, my fun, my way over you. I knew what I was hanging on to. And I think even you just saying, it's like, once you accept the truth, it's like, your hands are like, are you going to put action behind it, actually accepting the truth? It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, going into, because that's how it was, with my girlfriend is, she, again, she went to church, as a kid, her parents made her.
Yeah.
But, as she started to see my life and what I value the most, and see the way, I'm passionate about going to church now. Have the fire. I have, it's like, as she, and obviously she gets more of a, she sees it more than just any other,
of course,
person. And so, when she sees the way, I genuinely am, and because that's the thing, you can post on your Instagram story, you could put a verse in your Bible, like, and that's how I, am at times. Like I caption verses, and I try to do that.
They go hard too.
No, they are. Keep it at Wyatt_Horton.
Y'all see. We'll tag you.
But no, like, when you find someone that's genuine about it, and you see, okay, that's their life. That's what pulled her closer to God and said, I want to live like that. And she had no clue. She was in the same spot a lot of people are, with just, I don't have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
And she was, trying to get her life right before she did that, and it's like, and I told her, I'm like, one of my biggest things is you don't have to, and I've heard this from many, many people before, but I said, you don't have to be a good Christian, like we talked about, to have a relationship with Him.
Yeah.
You have to, bring all your failures and
everything,
your imperfect, traits, and honestly, your mess. You have to bring your mess to Him and say, listen, I'm not perfect. I need you to turn my life around, and then start living like that. And that's why, we're able to have a good relationship, is because she sees the positive in it, and she wants to be a part of that. And once you say yes to that and make the conscious effort, every day, not just sometimes, you have to, constantly make the effort. And we're gonna fall, we're gonna fail. But I think, God, I know God knows you. So, like, even if you don't have a relationship, and that's, hard to believe, hard to know for a lot of people, because I've never talked to God, I've never prayed. How does He know me so well? And it's like, that's what, is He has a specific, detailed life for you. And it's up to you if you want to be a part of that.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Man is writing poetry over here. It's crazy. I swear he wrote the book of Proverbs. Never mind. But, geez, when you were talking, you said this thing, and kind of what you explained. You're like, you got to bring your mess. And even as believers, as young believers, sometimes when you get on fire, this flame ignites, and then, you start not living the same way. We start to do a little finger pointing of, oh, they stink now. Oh, they still do that. They stink, like they're so unclean. You know what I mean? And something that I like that you said is like, you know what? I'm friends with everyone, this and that. There's probably more lukewarm Christians in the world than on fire Christians. We're not saying we're 100% on fire Christians all the time. But if the world was 100% on fire Christians all the time, it wouldn't be what it is today. So let's be real. We are lukewarm majority of the time. What would even happen if, even as us, because like you said, sometimes, or I don't know if we actually said this out loud or it was in my head, but Christians can get a bad rep, all these certain things, this and that, holier than thou. And it's like, hey, we need to start sharing that story more of like, hey, we were broken. Hey, we used to stink. Yeah, for sure. We had to bring our mess to Jesus. And that way, people that are looking are like, wow, they're so radical now. They're on fire. They won't feel as intimidated to even show up. They are the mission. Those people are the mission. Thanks. We're saved. Yep. Amen. Like, how do we make sure tons more get saved? Why would we just want to selfishly keep it to us? And I think even, you know, high school can be so hard, but it's like, hey, if that party person that just turned up on Saturday night is in youth group on Sunday, the worst thing you could do for their soul and the worst thing you can do to make sure that they never show back up in that space again is talk about them. For sure. Is to spread, you know, gossip. Is to say, why are they here? Like, we want those people there. Yeah, and I like that same exact thing is, you know, because there's always going to be people that talk, that judge, that, you know, aren't doing, you know, the right things. And I think that's what, you know, has been so moving on our campus is to see, you know, because like I said earlier, the stereotypes of football boys, the group, you know, to see a football team, you know, really turn it around. And I'm not saying it's the entire football team that, you know, is all involved. Yeah. But I can tell you, you know, more of the kids on our football team is like, okay, more players are starting to do this, and I want to be a part of the team. The team, honestly, I mean, God, faith in God, it's a big team, and when, you know, you start to see, you know, there's tons of kids on our team that were living this one way, you know, whether it was Pastor Darrison, Pastor Whitney, or one of us, you know, kids somehow got involved with the whole thing, and it's like to see us kids that, you know, some may have a bad reputation, some might, you know, have been off to a bad start in high school, you know, and there's several, you know, you could just think of to see, you know, I'll nod like I know. Yeah. Like, I don't know. To see them turn it around, though. Yeah. And like I said, there's always going to be people like, oh, he does that. Like, or like, oh, he was doing that. How's he going to be a Christian now? And I think, you know, if you're consistent, if you, you know, only care about the opinion of Jesus and, you know, just I wouldn't say zone it out, because it is good to hear, you know, that, because, you know, yes, Jesus' opinions, all that matters, but you should be living in a way that represents, you know, God. And so if people are saying stuff, you know, don't be so quick to, you know, fire back, but listen to it and see, you know, make that a learning point, I guess, in everything you do. It's huge. It's huge. Let's get some snaps, people. Snap. Major snaps. Whew. Okay, y'all. We have made it to the last question. I know. You're crying. You're sobbing. This was so good. I know you're sad. Oh. Anywho. So the last question, because, you know, we're all trying to get better, and something that we are asking, we asked we've had like a mix of people. We have single people on the season, we have taken people, we got married people, the whole 9 yards. But what are 2 to 3 traits someone should look for in their next relationship, in your opinion? I mean, honestly, I feel you have to say first. You got to be like, in my opinion, you know, you have to. In my opinion, in my opinion, I feel like I already answered this. Oh, he said, in my opinion, I'm not answering this question. That's crazy. Wow. Can you like give it like 1, 2, 3? Traits? What if someone's taking notes? Yeah, I mean, 2 to 3 traits. I would say, you know, 1, have the same goals. Mm.
I'm not saying, literally with
Football champions. That better be your goal. If it's not,
yeah.
I'm
But
playing.
with
I'm trolling.
Like we've talked about this
Yeah,
whole time.
like we've talked about.
Like
y'all
we've
know.
talked about. If you're listening.
Okay, another one.
Have the same goals. Another trait is, I think honesty is big because I think, in order to grow together,
Mm-hmm.
in your faith, I think you have to be honest. And, there's a lot of people that try to, have this perfect life for the outsiders and, and just kind of play it off to everyone.
Yeah.
Like you're a good Christian, but the second you are honest and open about it, I think it helps a relationship out.
Yeah.
It's like, I struggle with this or I struggle with that. And you can kind of work through it with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really big in a relationship, to be honest about everything and to not, try to, just act so perfect all the time because the truth is we're not. And so, and a third trait,
don't have to have a third trait.
No, you don't.
He's like, but I must.
Well, I don't.
So. Guys, just gotta have same values, same goal, football champions, and be honest. JK.
But football champions.
Yeah, for real. So, guys, I know we're sad. That is the end of episode 7 of ITL. Wow. Kind of crazy, huh?
Crazy.
Goodness gracious. Guys, if you're not already, follow us on Instagram at itl.ignitethelight. Check out the YouTube video. Video on this one. Lord help us. And we just hope your light has been ignited. Whatever you do, don't just keep this for yourself. Go share, go be bold, go be amazing, and just realize that you're not living your life just for yourself. You live for others, and go be Jesus for someone else. We love you guys. Any last words? Any last ad-libs?
No, you nailed it.
All right. Ski. Peace.